Hey everybody, back at Aldi's with Mom for spiritual lessons at Aldi's. But first, let's get the sourdough report. Well, there's one sandwich, which I think I'm going to grab, because even though we have some good at home, I could always put this in the freezer. And there's plenty, not plenty, but a good amount of rounds. So one of my gigs is I work supervising field education students at the Divinity School at the University of Chicago, and today we had our first session with a new group. And generally speaking, the topic that came up today from someone's experience was about boundaries and compassion and how to keep yourself safe when someone says something offensive. So someone said something offensive and the student wanted to discuss how they had responded. So we did that. And something I thought about, is, well, a question that the student was asking was, how might my response have been harmful to me because they wanted to stay professional and not, roast the person in public and all that. And we discussed how can we take responsibility for when someone says something offensive, nasty, mean, and do we want to not embarrass them? Do we want to call them out or call them in so that other people there see that someone's not going to accept or tolerate certain kinds of, racist, homophobic, whatever kind of behavior? It's good that when people speak up, we also want to maintain that professional boundaries. And the question was asked, if I'm being professional and keeping really good boundaries, am I doing harm to myself? One thing that came to mind for me was in Jewish mystical thought, we have these Sefirot, these channelers of divine energy into the physical world. And there's three of them I want to bring up. One is Chesed, which is on this shoulder. It's not literally there, but you refer to it being there for reference. And then here is Gevura. Chesed is loving kindness, right? The idea that we should help people and love people and be really supportive and give charity and tzedakah, help people when they need money. And then we have Gevura, strength, our boundaries, where we have to, protect ourselves and our families and our circles. And we can't give away too much, right? Because if we give away too much, then we need help ourselves. And so those balance are ferret in the heart. And I thought, well, if we check in and try and balance, right, the loving kindness and the compassion for the person who said the hateful thing, and we balance having boundaries and taking care of ourselves and not being subject to aggression, that we can hopefully find the balance of a response of perhaps using some humor or correcting them and moving on were a couple of the suggestions. And another thing that came to mind in the discussion was doing a 4 worlds check-in. What does that mean? So in Jewish mystical thought, briefly, there are 4 worlds, and it's not just Jewish thought that says this, but there's the physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual worlds. So I suggested when you're in a situation and you have a moment to stop, or after the situation, if you don't have that moment to stop, check in with yourself afterwards as a bit of, being a steward to the traumas in your life, even if it's a small trauma. Ask, how am I doing physically? And feel your body and see where, what happened during that time. Intellectually, how am I doing with this thing that happened? Emotionally, how do I feel? And spiritually also. So, love and blessings, everybody. But before we go, let's go to the Aldi Finds aisle. As I walk up, I see a couple things that I have fascinations with. A bag, they call it a yoga bag. I don't know why. It says good for holding things during yoga. Maybe because you can slide your yoga mat in and across there. And flashlights. I really just like flashlights, but I'm not going to buy them. Moving on, there's rain boats and croc-like shoes, or maybe they're actual crocs, infant play, scarves, nothing all that surprising. Ooh, an electric kettle. I mean, we already have one, but I was thinking of getting one because we're opening an office where I'm sharing with my spouse who does art therapy, and I'm going to do my spiritual direction and coaching work. So maybe a kettle. Let's see. Zip hoodies. A knit jacket. Okay. Well, as usual, the Aldi finds are diverse and somewhat random. Not, they're actually fairly organized. I appreciate that, but you never know what you're going to get in the Aldi finds. Love and blessings, everybody. May we all be able to balance our loving kindness, our chesed, and our boundaries, gevurah, so that we can help others and take care of ourselves. Talk to you later.